Today is edition of Back Roads of Illinois. We were bringing you lasted for farming sources and information sponsored by AgriGold. Thanks to join us for this afternoon. I am your host, Cesar Delgado. We were joining with Daniel Whitey from Washington, D.C. Daniel Whitey is a farm service administrator in Washington. What an honor to have you, Daniel. Welcome to the show for today's program. I talked with him in Kansas City from National Association of Farm Broadcasting. We were discussing about the mission of promoting the trade with U.S. Yeah, it's going to be interesting conversation with Daniel Whitey from Farm Service Agency in Washington. We were talking about the commodities markets with Tyler Shau from agmarkets.net. We were discussing about the cattle placement before Christmas Eve. Otherwise, this is your rural news sponsored by AgriGold Rex Brett Lar for Central Illinois. The trade is going to have a remembrance to the President Jimmy Carter on Thursday, January 8th. This week is going to be having World Supply and Demand Report on Friday morning at 11 Central Time from the Department of Agriculture. Otherwise, this corn crop in Brazil is pretty good with the weather and demand for China. Finally, in the ethanol demand is higher than last time before available for a 15-year round from Congress. However, there is some concerns about the GREET program for right now. This is your rural news sponsored by AgriGold Reps Brett Lar. We were joining with Daniel Whitey from Washington, D.C. Daniel Whitey is a farm service administrator in Washington. What an honor to have you, Daniel. Welcome to the show for today's program. I hope you enjoyed your Christmas.
I did. And Caesar, thank you so much for having me. It's great to see you again. We last caught up in Kansas City at the National Farm Broadcasters. So excited to have an opportunity to chat with you a little bit today. And you're absolutely correct, the administrator of the Foreign Ag Service. And we help connect American agriculture to markets and customers all around the globe. I like to tell people all the time, we're just short of 400 million in population here in the United States, but we grow enough food to feed almost a billion people. So our jobs is to connect you and connect American agriculture with all those potential customers and markets out there for their amazing products.
Let's begin with our discussion on your traveling in the world for the mission of promoting the trade with the United States. Can you tell us about that, Daniel?
Yeah, no, great question. And a big part of what we do is to work with American ag producers and exporters and take them on trade missions around the world. Most recently, I had the opportunity to lead a delegation. We had state departments of agriculture. We had almost 30 small businesses. We've had members of our cooperator community, which are sort of trade associations that represent commodity groups. And we embarked upon a week-long mission to Morocco. And I can tell you it was well received. We had almost 300 business-to-business meetings, and we were really able to get a glimpse of what the future of American agriculture products receptivity will be in Africa over the next couple of decades. And I can tell you it's a bright future. They are desiring, they are hungry for more American ag products, and we were able to connect them with some of the best producers in the world.
What is the top of agricultural products in Morocco?
Uh,
Daniel.
Yes, so they have a vibrant livestock industry. So they import a lot of feed for livestock production. So we're doing extremely well in corn. We're doing extremely well in soybeans. We're getting some horticultural products in. They have a burgeoning sort of bakeries industry. So they're bringing in some nuts and almonds from different parts of the United States. They're bringing in some consumer-oriented goods. We got a chance to meet with some young people, and they're like us. They're like kids going to the little convenience store after school, and they're buying more snacks and cookies and things of that magnitude. So we're doing extremely well across a broad array of products that are grown right here in the United States of America.
Great to hear that. What is the Farm Service Agency in the United States? How could explain to the young people who are coming to the agricultural, or they can get some land in their counties?
Yeah, so the Farm Service Agency, FSA, that's a sister agency of ours. And their main mission is to support production agriculture. They have a number of programs that assist with new and beginning farmers. They work very closely with a number of our academic and educational farm programs such as 4-H, such as FAA. So they work a lot with students majoring in agriculture, and have a number of programs to help talk about the benefits of agriculture, not just to a career, but also to rural America, also to the rural economy. And we know that the national economy is only as strong as our rural economy. So they do a lot of programs. They do lending programs to help acquire the resources to farm, whether that's machinery or land or seeds and other inputs. They have programs to help invest in new technologies and innovation so that the farmers have the latest in innovation to help mitigate costs and mitigate risks and be able to increase profit margins. So they do a tremendous amount of work around production agriculture, but equally to help attract beginning, new, and young farmers to farming.
Could you tell us about those programs in rural areas, a little bit like loans?
Yeah, I'm not an expert on all of those programs, but I know they have a number of various lending programs that help mitigate some of the cost associated with production agriculture. Obviously, production agriculture is a energy intense sector from fuel and fertilizer. Obviously, there's a tremendous amount of investment in the land that is required. There's a tremendous amount of investment needed to mitigate pest and disease outbreaks, to deal with the uncertainty of weather. All of these things impacts the ability of the farmer to make a crop and earn a profit. And so some of the lending programs at FSA are designed to help mitigate those risks, whether it's on machinery, capital improvements, whether it's on storage on the farm, whether it's on transportation and logistics to get crops from the farm gate to the market terminals or the local elevators. It's a broad array of how these programs can assist America's farmers to do what we know they do best, which is grow food to feed not only the.
Is there anything else that would you like to tell our audience about the Farm Service Agency?
Well, let me just say this. First of all, Caesar, again, thank you so much for having me today. This is certainly an honor and a pleasure to spend this time with you. What I want to convey to your audience is American agriculture is strong, and it couldn't be in a stronger position. The investments that we've made in production agriculture right here are second to none around the world. I've had the opportunity to travel and see production agriculture just about on every continent at this point. And we are by far ahead of all of our competitors when it comes to investing in American agriculture. That's one. Number two, we are working tirelessly to ensure you have fair and a level playing field to sell your products. We understand that some of our trading partners have not treated us as fairly as we have treated them. And we work each and every single day to break down barriers, to educate our trading partners on science, technology, and innovation, and to understand the safety, the reliability, the nutritional value that American agriculture brings. So just want to leave your listeners with that. And American agriculture couldn't be in a stronger position.
Where people can find good more information on FSA.
Yeah. So I'll give you two websites, both our website, fas.usda.gov, but also those interested in our sister agency, FSA, they can visit FSA at USDA.gov.
Do you have any final thoughts on the world supply of the United States agricultural industry?
Yeah, no, world supply and demand estimates. Of course, we publish new estimates each and every single month. We went through a period of inflation, higher commodity prices. We've seen some softening of that. We've had some good crops. Some of our competitors have also had some good crops. So world supply has been strong, and we've seen some of the price reflections of that. Of course, we've had some issues with droughts affecting the livestock, the beef industry for sure. We've also had some issues with animal disease outbreak, which of course brings a great deal of uncertainty and nervousness to our amazing livestock producers. So we're always mindful of that and know that these estimates could always change. But really just proud of all of our sister agencies, FSA, NAS, of course, the World Board, ERS, all of those agencies that help supply all of the information to publish those WASDE estimates every month. So again, couldn't be in a better place than we're in for American agriculture.
Let's begin with our thanks for coming, Mr. Administrator. We do really appreciate your time.
Absolutely. And I appreciate your time. Hopefully I get invited back and we can catch up in the future and share some updates. And again, always want to hear what you all have going on and how USDA and FAS and all of our sister agencies can be supporting our great farmers, ranchers, and processors out there in rural America.
This is Daniel Whitey from Farm Service Agency in Washington, D.C. on back roads of Illinois. This is your commodity market sponsored by Kyle Bumstead from Allendale Incorporated. March corn is up to 5 to 10 cents quarter. January beans is up at 4 to 5 cents. Chicago May wheat is down to 5 to 4 cents, bring down the nickel. We were going to the livestock markets for this morning. January cattle are up at 6 to 5 cents on the quarter. February feeder cattle are up at 4 to 6 cents for the half. February hogs are down at 3 to 9 cents on the quarter. Crude oil are up at 3 to 5 cents per barrel. Dow Jones is up to 9 points. Thanks to Mr. Administrator Daniel Whitey from Farm Service Agency in Washington, D.C. It went well with our discussion on the trade in the world. Well, this time for your agri-markets for this afternoon from agmarkets.net with Tyler Shau from Monday's Close. First of all, Happy New Year to you and your family. I hope that you had a good Christmas. Well, let's talk about the grain cycle from Monday's close. How was the corn futures for this afternoon?
Corn had a nice rebound. Well, first of all, let me back up. It was a very good Christmas. It was kind of a good time. We did go travel down to Iowa. That's where I'm originally from, so got to go see some family. So that was pretty cool, and did a little bit of traveling with my wife and daughter, and just kind of had a good couple weeks. But we're back at it now here on this full first trading week of 2025, and actually corn had a pretty good day today. March corn closed up 7 cents, as well as May corn, and your December 25 corn closed up 4 3/4. I wouldn't say there was just a ton of news outside of some weather issues in South America, kind of helping to push corn and beans a little bit higher. Also saw the dollar break pretty sharp. So the March dollar index is down about 73 points, and that's been poking up there pretty high. We're up above 109 last week, and saw that drop pretty steadily today. So kind of saw that repercussions and through most of the grain markets as a lot of your grains, corn, soybeans, and wheat were all pretty positive. But overall, a good trading day on corn market today.
Great to hear that. I am sorry for your Hawkeyes in Nashville. How about the supply and demand side?
Well, number one, I'm not a Hawkeye fan. I'm a proud Cyclone, and they had a good bowl game, and their basketball team's doing pretty good this year. So, the fact that the Hawkeyes did not fare so well in Nashville, I guess I'd like to see them win, but no sweat off my brow. As far as the supply and demand report, yeah, we've got a WASDE report that comes out this Friday. This is the January report. It's kind of the year-end wrap-up for the 324 crop year. So after we'll continue to get updates to the 23-24 crop, 24-25 crop, peepers. But that being said, we'll kind of lock in the harvested acres as well as the yield. They'll continue as we move forward to change demand, but our supply really won't change much from here on out. And our thoughts. We met today, this morning, an ag market team, and kind of discussed some of our expectations. We're kind of thinking we're going to see the corn yield drop, probably not a huge drop, maybe come down about 9/10 of a bushel. I think it was at 180, 183.1. We've got it pegged at 182.2 for this January report. So looking to see that drop. We're not changing the acres any. We kind of left those alone, and we're not changing any of the demand side of it. So right now, if you recall in the November WASDE report, the USDA kind of came in, surprised everybody, lowered the yield. And typically when they come in and lower yield, they will also lower demand. They did not. They left demand untouched, and everyone kind of thought that was strange because the narrative going into the report was that demand needed to increase. We thought we'd see ethanol demand increase. We also thought we'd see export demand increase. Then in December, which is typically kind of a snooze fest for the WASDE report, they didn't do much with the yield, but they came in and then they adjusted those demand numbers higher. So they increased ethanol demand. They also increased export demand. Both months we saw back-to-back decreases in ending stocks. Our estimate is, they're going to come in here in this January report and shave off some production, shave yield down a little bit, but we're not looking for anything on the demand side. We're not looking for them to cut the demand yet. We think they'll leave exports where they're at and ethanol for the time being. Now, the wild card there is we also get a quarterly stocks report on the same day. And they'll want to true some of that up. So if the quarterly stocks comes in and there's been a big disappearance of corn in that first quarter, then that, maybe that's where we'll see an increase in demand, or vice versa. Maybe the disappearance hasn't been as big as we thought it's been, and we'll see that change. It's just the couple things we try to track that usually tell us disappearance has been strong, is basis has been strong really across the corn belt, and the spreads are just super strong, really narrow spreads, which is typically indicative of there being a little bit less corn out there than the market maybe thought.
Of course, Tyler, we will see what happened on Friday morning at 11. Do you have any concerns about the beans demand from Brazil now?
Yeah, I do think we've got concerns with the Brazilian crop. It's probably going to be a very large crop. We're getting a little bit of a pop in that bean market right now because of the dryness that's occurring in southern Brazil and Argentina. Most of the weather experts expect that to stick around for a few weeks. Of course, that's going to hit right when flowering occurs in soybeans, or some flowering is occurring. So we do think that's an issue to be monitored. But at the end of the day, the big concern is just the fact that we're going to lose a lot of export demand to Brazil. They're just able to produce the beans. They've put a lot of acres into production. They've increased their infrastructure, their ability to get it off the farm to the ports. We know China has invested heavily in South America over the last 6 to 8 years. So, we really, yes, when it comes down to it, I'm worried about demand. I think we're losing a lot of it to Brazil. We really need some domestic demand to pop up here. We really need these renewable diesel plants to kick off. We really need the renewable diesel to take hold, and we also need the federal government to step up and stop subsidizing the use of used cooking oil from foreign countries in our renewable diesel supply.
What is the progress on their second corn crop for right now?
Second corn crop in Argentina is about 93% planted, I believe. Second corn crop in Brazil, that won't start coming in until these crops come off here. The second corn crop in Brazil is that safrinha crop. So once we get the corn and the beans that are in the ground right now off, then second crop corn will go in. So a little bit behind there as we speak.
Is there any concerns about the new sorghum outbreak anymore, or other black swan event?
I think the screwworm outbreak sounds like the last news I've heard, they've got it under control. It sounds like they're planning on opening the border to Mexican imports at some point here in the month of January. There's been kind of some back and forth, some news out, some news stories that break out that say that they're going to change that, and then or they're going to open the border back up, and then they walk that back a little bit, but really haven't heard any new or additional news that would override the latest news we heard that it would be early January. So I expect that border to open up. That was a big deal because this is the time of year, December, early January, where we typically import the highest numbers of cattle out of Mexico. So that's one. As far as a black swan event, uh, those are always tough to predict. In fact, I mean, that's the definition of a black swan event. It's an event that's critical that we don't see coming. That's why I typically, when I talk to especially cattle producers, cow calf operators, make sure you've got hedges in place. If buying put options or LRP today and paying the premium If that's what keeps you from making any money this year, you might want to think about getting out of the cattle business, because these are record prices or near record prices. This is the time to be hedging stuff and having some protection on in case of that.
What is the import numbers?
Oh man, you always ask the hard questions. Typically in the month of December is when we'll import about 100,000 head. So it's not, I mean, we're not talking massive amounts. Just in a time frame where we're in, where we've got very small, the smallest cow herd we've ever had. Pulling in cattle from other countries is really important.
Is there any concern? Do you have any final thoughts or recap about the crop condition in Brazil and the world's supply and demand?
Well, I think this is the time frame where that weather in South America is very critical. We've been talking about it for a couple months, it seems like, but now we're kind of getting into that spot where soybeans are going to start flowering. They need the rain. It's got to continue. As of right now, for a lot of Brazil, it has, and so word on the street is that crop looks really, really good when you're in northern and central Brazil. You get into southern Brazil, you get into Argentina, slightly different story. The dryness is starting to become a little bit of a concern to people, and I see that's why you're continuing to see some upward price momentum in the market. The one thing I would say, Argentina's major production out of their soybeans is soybean meal, and that was actually down today. So maybe the weather isn't quite as scary as some people are leading us to believe. I think right now, supply and demand, probably not looking for any major changes on the world stage as we get ready for the WASDE report on Friday.
Thanks, Tyler.
You bet. Take care, Caesar.
This is Tyler Shau from agmarkets.net on back roads of Illinois. This is the close for the commodity prices for this afternoon. Otherwise, this is sponsored by Kyle Bumstead from Allendale Incorporated. Well, everything is up to green, especially the lean hogs markets as well. However, the March corn is up to 9 to 5 cents at 4.57 to the half. Let's take a look at beans. January beans was up to 9 to 8 cents at 9.91. May Chicago wheat was up in 5.40 at 6 to 8 cents. Let's go with livestock markets for this afternoon. January cattle are up at 197.75, 5.25. February feeder cattle are up at 265.55 the half. February hogs was up at 85,875 at the half of 6 to 8 cents. Thanks for listening on back roads of Illinois, and thanks to Daniel Whitey from Washington, D.C., and Tyler Shau from agmarkets.net. We're running out of time, but you can listen to our show on YouTube and whenever you get your podcast. This been Back Roads of Illinois. I am Cesar Delgado. You have a great day.